And one state has had a dividend in effect for almost 40 years. And what state is that? And how do they fund it? And what is the oil of the 21st century? Marijuana, that's right, put it in. It's technology, you had it right. It's AI, software, self-driving cars and trucks, big data. This is the oil of the 21st century. What they're doing in Alaska with oil money, we can do for everyone here in Portland and everyone around the country with technology money.
Hello, it's Daniel. So I am here in beautiful sunny Alaska. They say it's always sunny in Philadelphia, but I'm wondering if Alaska, because it gets darker around midnight, something like that.
A lot of light.
A lot of light. Okay, so I am with a wonderful person who agreed to do an interview today and talk about Alaska. So can you introduce yourself and just give us a little background of who you are?
I'm Rosie, and I have lived in Alaska for 5 years, or going on 6 years. I'm originally from Minnesota, and yeah, I work downtown. I also ski race for a team out of Anchorage, and I love it here.
Okay, Rosie, that makes you an official Alaskan if you've been here more than a year.
Well, if you get the PFD, you're an official Alaskan.
Oh, okay, so you don't get it?
No, I do.
Okay,
I do.
then she is official. So tell us a little bit about the PFD since you've gone there and how you understand maybe it equates to what Andrew Yang is proposing.
So the PFD is basically, because in our Alaska State Constitution, all natural resources are the property of the people. That was written into the Constitution. And so when oil was discovered on the North Slope, and when we had oil companies coming in, along with other mining companies or whatever the natural resource is, those resources belong to the people. And so they created this permanent fund, which then the people started getting dividends from. So that's kind of like the payment to the people for the resources that they're extracting. And so especially in the case of oil, where it's a non-renewable resource, the idea is that we are getting money as individual citizens of the state for the resource that's being taken out and, you know, obviously then produced into oil and stuff.
So Andrew Yang says that it was proposed under a Republican governor and that the people of Alaska really love it and would even keep it if taxes were raised. Would be okay with taxes being raised if they got to keep it. Is that too much of a stretch?
No, so I'm not super sure on the exact history of under what governor, but for sure Alaskans love the PFD, and the PFD is considered, I mean, it's very distinctly Alaskan. And like right now we are kind of in a budget crisis within our state under Governor Dunleavy, where we are slashing services extreme amounts. Our operating budget of our university system is being slashed by 41% right now, but it's in order to keep a PFD. He ran on the grounds of giving Alaskans an increased PFD back to an original formula that was made under, even with the idea that we are going to cut state services. And so coming from Minnesota as an outsider to Alaska, although being here and having been a resident for 5 years, it's very interesting because this PFD, Alaskans will take almost anything before losing their PFD. And that to me, I don't agree with as much, although I do see that the PFD as an income is a lot more of an income to our, you know, a lower socioeconomic level, because it represents like 20% of their income as opposed to 1% when you're a CEO of a major corporation. And so there's a lot of interesting ideas with, do you cut the PFD to pay for state services? Do you not cut the PFD? The kind of resounding thing that a lot of Alaskans come back to is we need to tax oil industry, the oil industry stronger. Of course, that depends on your personal political viewpoints, but the PFD, as it relates to Andrew Yang's idea of a universal income, it operates differently, but the general concept of giving money to each citizen is kind of similar. There are arguments that the PFD then increases spending and that our economy gets a small boost when we all receive it in October or whatever date. Whether you want that money as opposed to a road that doesn't have potholes is maybe another personal choice politically, but it for sure, it's an interesting concept, and it definitely is something Alaskans feel very strongly about, on both sides, and everyone kind of has a different opinion on whether that PFD should be preserved, increased, if we should be paying for state services, if there's other ways to keep the PFD while doing things like increasing taxes or even having any kind of tax, because right now we don't have an income tax in Alaska.
Okay. So, but the concept of him using Alaska as kind of a test case for giving everybody a freedom dividend, do you think that's fair then?
Yes, probably. I think there for sure is, I mean, it does, like it, as someone who actually does not make very much money, the PFD is a financial boost for me, like, and allows me to make ends meet, and I mean literally pay for things like fixing my car or whatnot. And so, you know, I think someone else at a different income bracket maybe goes on vacation with that money. So there's, it is an interesting, I mean, it would be a good test case. I'm not 100%, you know, read up on universal income that well. Although as a concept, I see socialist countries in Scandinavia where I ski race, where things look pretty great, even though there are high tax rates. So I think it is a fair case to be made and something to be looked at, but I think you need to consider the things that happen in Alaska that aren't the same in the rest of the country as well. But for sure, it's a comparison.
So you brought up something interesting. You are a world traveler.
Yeah.
You're on she was on the Olympics, everyone, and so you've gotten to see how other countries operate, and you've seen kind of how that works. And you know, we hear all the time, especially in politics, especially with Bernie Sanders, how there's some Scandinavian countries that are so much better. And do you feel that when you visit them?
I mean, there's good things about the United States too that you don't find in the Scandinavian countries. I've spent a lot of time in Norway and Sweden, and Norway especially is very rich with oil and similar to Alaska. And there is a different level of services that is offered to all citizens. I know different Norwegian citizens have their own opinions on like handouts, if we want to call it that, or whatever the concept is, but I do think things like universal healthcare, universal education is very important, and you see these countries being able to offer that to all their citizens, and I don't see that in the US, especially when you look across socioeconomic lines, racial lines, whatever the concept, you know, demographically, we are not offering those services like Scandinavian countries are.
And we definitely could. So, well, thank you very much for interviewing with me. Here from Alaska, subscribe, like, share this video, and let's continue to get Andrew Yang elected for 2020. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.